This is Ed from EdsJunk.net. I figured I'd show you guys my workshop. I did a video a few years ago, but lots changed since then, so come on, let's check it out. Typical two-car garage, but with some work you can turn it into something quite awesome. Pretty much my garage, I got everything I needed here to do whatever mod or hack or project I create and put on my site. And my entire garage is only a typical two-car garage, but with some strategic organization, like I call it, you can fit a lot of stuff in one garage and a lot of tools and a lot of things you wouldn't typically think you would see in just a household garage. So I'll give you a tour of it. This is just my normal workbench, kind of a bench for each thing. I like having each area to have its own purpose, its own use. So this is kind of like my general bench drafting design. That's where I'm coming up with different projects. So you can see here, this is my 3D design software. I use Autodesk Inventor. Also, as you can see right here, I'm working on a fan shroud. This is a 3D mouse. Makes working with 3D objects a lot easier. This is a fan shroud I'm making for my Xbox One laptop that I'm getting ready to put out. Here's actually a 3D printed version of it. I got a couple maker bots that we'll get to in just a few minutes. So this is where I do a lot of my general solder work, cutting, beating up, drilling. This is what this bench is for, is to get its butt kicked. That's why all the holes are in. You can drill through material with the right dimension care is what this bench is for. So as you can see, I have everything here right in a hand's reach. It's good to have a toolbox of your tools, and it's also good to have them right where you need them when you need them. Everything from screwdrivers, pliers, hookup wire, even more hookup wire down here. It's all underneath the bench, as you can see here, on spools. That way, when I'm up here, I don't have to worry about it being in the way, trying to save space. Oh, I need some black wire. I just pull out how much I need, cut it off, and go. Which leads me to my next thing is a good pair of wire snips. And wire strippers always comes in handy. I have some of the hand ones that you pull, but those aren't worth it. This thing, automatic wire stripper, if you haven't seen them, this is the way to do it. Real quick strip wire, and also you can strip in the middle of wire if you ever need to make like a, I'll do two at the same time. Boom. Can't do that with your teeth. Also, just hot glue gun. Here's a Dremel tool I have hanging. Makes it real easy to real quick grab it, boom, cut, done. You don't have to worry about hooking things up. It's all right at your fingertips. Even this is the tool I kind of came up with. This is a drywall saw. That I then also took an air cutoff saw and modified and turned it to basically battery-powered cutoff saw. I haven't really seen much of them around. This tool was real handy to have around. If you've used air cutoff saws, you know. You have a battery up on it, so you don't have to worry about air. It's great. And also then a drill press there, and there's just more organization up here, as you can see. It's something every garage needs is music. Working with silence, it drives me nuts. I used to plug my phone in, and that's just way too much work. Like I said, I like to have each system have its own controller or whatever you need. Some music, I bought a little tablet, Android tablet off Craigslist, put it in here and actually mounted it in my workbench and kind of like my work area here. So now when I want to play music, I'm like, oh, let's listen to some Tracy Chapman. And just using Spotify, I'm able to have all my music right here when I need it. It's kind of nice, so I don't have to hook up my phone and try to figure out music each time. Come in here, hit play, boom, got music playing, ready to work. And other ways to save space, think outside the box. A lot of my tools I put in areas that most people wouldn't, but to save space. For example, everyone has thought of, everyone's put in retractable electric cords. That's great to have. Quick power when you need it, and it's out of the way when you don't. And then air as well. Well, I do different those. I put my air compressor in the attic. Luckily, I have an attic above my garage. But a lot of people have big compressors. They're loud, and they're sitting inside their garage or just outside their garage. I can put up my attic. It's quiet. My neighbors don't hear it as much. I don't hear it as much. And I can just pull the air down and use it when I need it. But I also have some line in front of my bench and also my laser cutter. This is my kind of woodworking bench. Actually, one of my newest additions to my garage. Or shop. Basically, again, when you're having a small shop, you want to get as much stuff into something as possible. Try to get creative and figure out what you can put together as one item that can get a 3-in-1 or 4-in-1 device. That's what this bench is. This is a Craftsman electronic radial arm saw on this side. Pretty big saw, but building it to a bench, building it under the bench, so it uses the bench as its workspace, saving some time and space. But when I made this, I'm like, well, what else could I do with it? Well, I took a table saw, put that in the bench as well, as you can see right here. I apologize, it was a horrible hack job getting the hole in here. I had some problems with it. But by simply turning this, wrong way, and bringing the saw blade up, even though it takes a few turns, now you go from having a table to now having a full-size table saw as well as a radial arm saw. Also over here would be a router, and that can lift up as well and then be a router table. So again, you have a huge routing table, a huge table saw, and a radial arm saw. This saw is pretty cool. Old technology. Found this on Craigslist. I haven't seen any other ones like it. These are great saws. Kind of old school CNC. You're able to, let's say you want to type in, you want to make a saw cut, 1/4 inch higher than it is right now. You can actually type in 0.25, then hit go. Oh, wrong one. 2.5. Hit go and actually lift up. Coming up down there. It's loud and old. You can tell it's old technology, but it's pretty cool. I don't know why Craftsman doesn't keep some of these. Maybe they do, and I don't know. I would say this is my hardware section. Pretty much any nut, bolt, screw combination you can think of, I probably got it. I actually scored this whole kit for free from a friend of mine. He told me he had some screw organization boxes for me for free, so I went over and checked it out, and he actually had this. Entire hardware store, I feel like, a little mini one, at least for me. It's kind of been something I've always wanted. It's great to have any screw you can think of when you need it. What's cool about it is when it's full, but still when you pull back, you still even got the extra boxes of screws behind it. Everything from bolts, stainless steel, machine screws, cotter pins, self-tapping screws, springs, wing nuts, lock washers. Labeled everything so it all fits into place. It's really good to have for a hacker space or your personal shop, just to have all that. Also these boxes here, you get these at Harbor Freight. There's nice organization boxes. Just more screws, nuts, bolts, different specialty things. Some stainless stuff, wire hookup, all different sizes they have. It's good to keep it all in one area, have everything organized. Again, it says, boiled down to it, is strategic organization. This is just a quick, small metalworking bench, or even woodworking too. But just a bench grinder, and also a belt sander, or radial sander built into it as well. Again, it's kind of a 2-in-1 tool. A lot of them come like that, but it saves you from having to have two, unless you need a really big one by itself. But then, under the bench, got all my scrap materials, anything from starboard, any type of acrylic you can think of, PVC foam board, aluminum. This is all scrap. This is stuff that I've made projects with and have more stuff laying around. Keep it. Don't throw stuff away unless it's real garbage. And now for onto the more fun stuff. What's the shop without a CNC router and mill? It's kind of a little combination machine I came up with. I know it's not really a mill. Technically it's a CNC router. 2 foot by 4 foot. It's not your typical 4 by 8, but I don't cut stuff that big. It would just take up way too much space. So for me, this thing's great. I ended up picking this up online on Craigslist for like $1,000 broken. Put it all together. Now a great working CNC router, all aluminum built, steel mounted table. This thing's solid. It weighs a ton. I made this controller for it. This is just basically old arcade buttons I had from a MAME arcade I worked on, and some Radio Shack buttons and a keyboard. Put it all together and created its own system to run this. It's running Mach 3, which is the Windows computer. I like to have each machine have its own dedicated controller. I don't like the thought of taking a laptop and plugging it into something and moving it to go to use another tool. It's just a pain in the butt. Computers are cheap enough now. You don't need a top-of-line computer to run this equipment. This is old technology. I bought the computer, I think, for $100. But put a touchscreen in it. And actually, I have a video on my website on EdsJunk.net, more in depth of how I built this box. This is a nice router. If anyone's seen how these work, it's pretty much just a router that's computerized. You have three axes of travel, X, Y, and Z. So you can go left, right, back and forth, and up and down. Manually, you could run it manually if you want to cut things manually, but mainly what it's for is designing something in 2D or 3D and then sending it over using G-code into Mach 3, and it'll run it computerly run each axis to design pretty cool parts. This can be stuff used for art, like here's just an Aztec calendar, Mayan calendar. You can get online. It's kind of way to make sure your machine works. It cut that entire thing, which is one big V-bit. It probably took about an hour to do, an hour and a half. But more fun, what I like to use it for is parts. If I'm making parts, this is one of my old Xboxes, Xbox laptop parts. This is a 360. But it cut this out of 3/4 inch starboard. I was able to design this part. It uses a subtractive process to actually remove the material you don't want and leave what you want to use. This is kind of different from 3D printing, where 3D printing is an additive process where you're only putting down the material you want to use. This takes away the material you don't want, which leaves you with your part. Well, why have one 3D printer when you can have two? I started out having one. I bought the Replicator 2 the maker bought. Only prints PLA. Eventually I was like, oh, I need to start printing with ABS. I found a great deal on a Replicator 2X to print with ABS as well. But I kept my original Replicator just for making parts. Actually, I find myself using both at the same time a lot, so I hold on to it. But again, trying to save space and also make it easy to use, I kind of put them on top of each other, stacked them. But at the same time, though, having my filament up here on a big spindle, I'm able to pick the colors I need, when I need, and put them into the machines and run it. 3D printers are great. I'm sure you know how they work. If you've seen any videos or know, if you're watching this video, you should know what a 3D printer is. But pretty much just prints something layer by layer and creates parts like that fan shot I showed you before. Just random different parts I have, even little things you can download on the internet. It prints threads that can be screwed in. Let's call it as an AR-15 mag, which people frown upon. This is one of my more fancy tools, probably one of my more favorite machines I have in my garage. This is an Acura's 40-watt laser cutter engraver. It uses basically a laser, a beam of light to cut material or engrave it, scribe it, whatever you need to do. It's very accurate. I use it mainly for cutting acrylic. You can cut wood with it as well, cardboard, and etch metal. You can't cut metal with something this small, with this small power, but it is a great machine. Working with acrylic, I hate working with acrylic on the CNC router. We're trying to cut it by hand with saws, but when it comes to laser, it comes out awesome. As you can see here, the software is great. I have a piece of light acrylic sitting inside here, and I'm able to just draw a square. So let's say I want, for example, a 1" by 1" square. 1" by 1" square. I can print it. Go to File, Print. Acts like a printer. Well, you can change your speed and power settings. I have it on speed 3.0 with 100% power. Let's go ahead and move to it 2.5. Send this over to the laser. And with lasers, it cuts light, but you need to provide it some air, and also I have a vacuum. These are both up in my attic. So I just turn it on here, and this is a suction vacuum that takes the fumes and blows them outside, as well as air that's blowing into my compressor upstairs. It pushes the smoke out of the way. That's one thing that will make your laser not as bright. It's smoke in the way of light. It doesn't come out as bright, not as powerful. So after it sends it over to the unit, you pretty much just tell it to run, and it's just going to cut this with just a beam of light. I know it makes a lot of smoke, but again, it's all sucked out. That's no big deal. This can do very, very big parts. As you can see, it just fell out of there. Let me smoke it out of the way. And just simply cut that square out exactly 1" by 1" right out of this acrylic. But you can design things in Inventor, Illustrator, any kind of CAD design software, vector software, put it into this, and it'll cut it. So this software I use to design my Xboxes, for example, I design it all in one piece of software, and each machine gets its file that it needs and cuts its parts, and they all work together. So if I have screw holes here that then the CNC router puts holes into as well, they're going to match up. Same as with the 3D printers as well. This is a great tool to have. I know they're a little expensive, but well worth the money. It's made my money back 5-6 times over already with the projects I've done with it. This is actually one of the first machines I bought just because I thought it was cool. But it's actually come to be pretty handy. This is a vinyl plotter. It's kind of old technology, if you've heard of plotters, but it's pretty much a CNC machine. Kind of like a printer, but instead of printing materials, it cuts. That's how most of your car vinyl graphics are done. As you see, all this vinyl work up here is just when I was learning how to do it, doing different layer colors and stuff like that. Practicing. Now I'm doing pretty good at it. Pretty much what you have rolls of vinyl, rolls of color, as you can see. see all these ones. He doesn't print anything, just cuts something you already have. So you have to have all the colors on tubes and rolls. And you put it into the machine, it has a blade, and actually cuts out your vector image onto it, and then you pull off what you don't want. So for example, this is the Oakley logo. You simply just hit cut out, and it's going to send it over the machine. And now the machine is just going to take the blade and trace out that outline. You don't see anything yet because it's just making cuts. But when it's done here, I'll show you here. This is called weeding. If you've done any sign work, you'd understand. You know what this is. But you can come in here, pull it out, what you don't want. And there you go. There's a vinyl decal for you. That's how pretty much all vinyl decals are made. Some are printed, but this is the old way of doing it, and still a way to do it. This is great for labeling projects. My Xbox laptops I do, I'm able to put all the graphics on it and do it in different colors. And stick it right on acrylic or whatever I'm working on. The vinyl's great. Great for doing graphics. I wish I had a printer plotter. Not yet. Maybe that's coming soon. But honestly, for doing labeling work, anything, this is just a great machine to have, and they're not expensive. A couple $100 you can get yourself one of these machines. And for organizing, again, using cabinets. This actually came with my garage when I bought them, but it's something as simple as just loading them up with different storage options. This is for all my electronics and stuff like that. I had my screws and bolts until I got my big set that I showed you guys. But just use cabinets to your advantage. Do what you got to do to keep your tools in different areas so you can get to them quickly, but they're still out of the way so your garage still doesn't feel cluttered. Cluttered's horrible. Cluttered drives me nuts. These power tools, and all my spray paints and different adhesives I have, all in there ready to go when I need them, but they don't need to be out on my bench all the time. And the other one is just a washer and dryer. Yeah, a washer and dryer machine. Gotta have that. But again, everything in my garage has its place. And it's kind of my little piece of heaven. This is where I come in and have fun, do work, but also be able to recreation and build things. We all love building projects. The best thing I can say is start small. I started off very small in this garage, and just over the years built it up. Look on Craigslist for tools. Find tools there. Don't buy tools brand new unless it's something you really need. You can find used tools on Craigslist all day long and get great deals on them. I'm paying next to nothing for half this stuff. Check it out. I'm glad you guys hope you guys enjoyed this. Check out my other videos on EdsJunk.net. That was a tour of my shop.